I found out from my kids, they kept trying to get me up really early in the morning, texting and calling, and I thought it was fake news.
You won't believe how it ended. Just 2 weeks. That's all it was. 14 days after one of the most unforgettable performances of his life, Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, was gone. And the way it happened? Honestly, it felt like something out of a movie. Imagine this, a massive stadium in Birmingham, the city where it all began. The lights go down. The crowd roars. And then, slowly, a huge black throne rises from beneath the stage. Seated in that throne is a frail but unmistakable figure. He lifts his hand, waves to the crowd, and in that moment, he's not just Ozzy, he's a king. One last time. Now, here's the thing, no one knew that would be his final public moment. No one. Not the fans, not the press, not even some of his closest friends. That night was billed as a farewell performance, but nobody imagined it would be a farewell to life itself. And that's what makes this story so powerful. When news broke in the early hours of the morning in the UK, it didn't feel real. Even Gene Simmons from Kiss said he thought it was some kind of cruel internet hoax. He'd heard the news from his kids and flat out didn't believe it. "There's no way," he said. "Ozzy doesn't die. He's eternal." And in a way, he kind of is. Just 2 weeks earlier, Ozzy had reunited with the other 3 original members of Black Sabbath for what was promoted as their final concert together. And what a send-off it was. The show featured surprise appearances by rock legends like Metallica and Guns N' Roses, bands who wouldn't even exist without the path Ozzy carved. It was less a concert and more a full-blown ceremony. A goodbye wrapped in distortion, pyrotechnics, and pure, undiluted rock and roll energy. But behind the stage spectacle, people noticed something. Ozzy looked fragile. Not the maniac we remembered jumping around, howling into the mic. No, this time he was seated, his health had declined so much, he couldn't walk unaided. So they did what only rock and roll could, they put him in a black throne, like something out of a Gothic opera, and lifted him in front of 60,000 fans. And when he waved, you felt it. That moment, it wasn't just performance, it was poetry. If he could have scripted his final scene, that would have been it. Surrounded by his band, in his hometown, with his family backstage and fans screaming his name, it was perfect. Tragic, but perfect. Let's be honest, Ozzy Osbourne wasn't just a musician. He was a force. A movement. A walking contradiction. 1 minute, he's the Prince of Darkness, biting the head off a bat on stage. The next, he's throwing kisses to the crowd, telling them he loves them. And yeah, about that bat story, yes, it really happened. A fan tossed what Ozzy thought was a rubber bat onto the stage during a show in the 80s. He picked it up, took a bite, and immediately realized, this was no toy. He later joked, "Bats taste, bleep, awful." Classic Ozzy. But beyond the antics, the wild stories, and the controversy, what kept fans coming back for decades was something deeper. Ozzy was real. Vulnerable. Unfiltered. He never tried to hide his struggles, the drugs, the drinking, the mistakes. He laid it all out. "We thought getting high was just part of the gig," he once said. "We all ended up junkies and alcoholics. At first it was fun, and then it wasn't." Every member of Black Sabbath hit rock bottom at some point. Ozzy included. But instead of crumbling, he climbed back up. Rehab, relapses, recoveries, he faced it all, again and again. Because music wasn't just something he did. It was who he was. And that's why his fans stuck with him, even when things got rough. Through the slurred speech, the stumbles, the public meltdowns. Because through it all, he kept showing up. Touring. Recording. Performing. Giving everything to the people who loved him. Then, in 2020, we finally learned the truth. Ozzy had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, Parkin 2, a rare genetic form of it, way back in 2003. That's right. He had been battling a degenerative illness for nearly 20 years, and almost no one knew. He kept that fight private. He never wanted sympathy. He just wanted to live. Even when his hands shook, even when his speech was hard to understand, he'd still get up on that stage and sing his heart out. Because for Ozzy, the music always came first. And through it all, right by his side, was Sharon. Their love story is like something out of a punk rock fairy tale, chaotic, passionate, messy, but unbreakable. She wasn't just his wife. She was his manager, his business partner, his guardian angel. She picked him up when no one else could. Pushed him to rehab. Fought for his career. And stuck by him through everything. They had their fights. Their breakups. Their breakdowns. But in the end, they were one of the most solid teams in entertainment. When Ozzy passed, it wasn't just the world that lost a rock legend, it was Sharon who lost the other half of her soul. Their kids, Kelly, Jack, and Amy, were also there every step of the way. Whether it was on reality TV or behind the scenes, they showed the world that the Osbournes weren't just rock royalty. They were a real family. Flawed. Loud. Loving. And when the final days came, they were there every day. Helping him. Comforting him. Holding his hand. He didn't go out alone. He was surrounded by love. And yet, the public didn't know just how serious things had gotten. After that final show in Birmingham, the media called it emotional. Triumphant. Bittersweet. But no one imagined it was the last time they'd ever see Ozzy Osbourne alive. 2 weeks later, the news dropped. It was official. And the reaction? It was global. Instant. Heartbreaking. Social media flooded with tributes. News outlets scrambled to report the loss. Fans gathered outside stadiums. Radio stations played Black Sabbath on loop. Because the realization had hit, the godfather of metal was really gone. But man, what a final act. That image, Ozzy on that throne, lit by stage lights, his hand raised one last time, has already become iconic. It's being replayed on every music channel, every tribute, every highlight reel. And it should. Because it's more than just a performance. It was a goodbye. A ceremony. A celebration of 5 decades of rock history wrapped in one final bow. The thing is, Ozzy didn't just influence music. He invented a genre. No Ozzy, no metal. Period. No Metallica. No Slipknot. No late-night head-banging in your friend's garage. He and Black Sabbath took something raw and turned it into a movement. And generations of artists owe him everything. Even years later, people still talked about how kind he was. There's one story from 2017 that really stands out. A journalist was set to interview Ozzy on his farewell tour. He was nervous, thinking, what do I even ask someone who's been interviewed thousands of times? But the second he met him, all the nerves melted away. Ozzy was just chill. Welcoming. Energetic. Engaged. That wasn't just his public face, that was Ozzy. A man who made you feel like you belonged. There's a million stories like that. The first time someone heard Paranoid. The first time they saw him live. Or the moment they realized that music could be dangerous and beautiful at the same time. Now, even though Ozzy is gone, he's not really gone. His voice is still on every speaker. His stories are still being told. His spirit? That rebellious, electrifying, don't give a damn spirit? That's alive every time someone picks up a guitar and plays it loud enough to shake the walls.